Hello and welcome to that Peter Crouch podcast with me, Peter Crouch, Notorious SID and Chris Stark with me. Regards to your families.
Regards to your families, boys.
Regards to your families,
I come bearing gifts today.
What? Good
Yeah.
gift.
Yeah.
Do you know about this?
No.
So, bit of a story with this one. So, have you seen the garden gnomes that look like Bielsa? Well, they're little gnome versions of Bielsa,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but squatting down.
Yeah.
They're called the El Loco Gnomos, I think is their thing.
I love that El Loco Nomos.
They've sent a gnome, but they've sent a gnome of you.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, how good's that? It's brilliant. We can put it up in the Chumbawamba bar. Problem is on the way here,
Oh, no.
I was in a bit of a hurry
Oh, no.
and
Smashed it.
so there's Crouchy,
No.
and just for the sake of, obviously this is a podcast, he has become sort of detached from the bottom part of it.
I've
You
lost
were
an arm.
sadly missing an arm in transit, but that was a before me problem.
This
I love that, though.
This kind of thing happens to us on the pod, doesn't it? It all doesn't go to plan.
But I'm going to turn.
What am I holding it for? It's yours.
Yeah, take both parts
Can we,
of it, mate.
we could put it. We could rest it up there somewhere, couldn't we?
But I was thinking we can turn a negative to.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Wow!
Tell me we've got that.
Yeah.
Tell me
Right,
we've got that and it's
guys,
recorded.
Just for the audio listeners, I fell off my I fell off my chair.
Right there.
Fucking hell!
Chumbawamba bar's falling apart.
All right, we'll be back in 5 minutes. The Chumbawamba bar's in absolute pieces. Okay. Whoa.
Welcome back, everyone.
Sorry about that, lads. Slight mishap there. As I've reached over, the leg of the chair has gone from underneath. Snapped the chair and I've gone. The beer's gone everywhere. Chumbawamba's in pieces.
It's falling apart.
It's falling
again.
Well,
I'm worried about. So I was gifting a gnome. This is where it started. I worry the gnome's cursed
Yeah, well, no, it's not brought good luck.
because I gave you a broken gnome, and suddenly the Chumbawamba started falling apart.
You feel like it could be like almost like a voodoo doll or something.
Well, I was going to suggest with it. Well, I don't know because it got sent to me. I don't know if it's been cursed.
No, well, come on. I think we need to remove this from the Chumbawamba.
Because my original suggestion was going to be, why don't we get what's that show on TV that repairs things?
Repair
The
shop.
repair shop. We should get the.
What would be a good name for that?
We should get the. We'll get the repair shop in to fix the gnome.
I don't know.
Now they'll do the
Yeah,
chair.
did a chair as well.
If you think about it, you lost a hand
I
before
think-
you
I
arrived.
think it's cursed.
Do you know what I mean?
Hold
Like,
on a minute. Let me just see that.
I wouldn't touch it.
I wouldn't
Just
touch
see
it if I was you.
Oh, what?
There we go. Perfect. He's put the hand on him. The hand of Pod.
I think the gnome, although a lovely.
No, mate.
curse on
Let's
me.
get rid of the fucking gnome.
Big thank you for sending in that.
Big thanks to Loco Gnomes.
Quality gnomes at affordable prices.
I got nothing against the company. I'm sure they're great gnomes, but I don't know. I had a bit of a nightmare. That was dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, that was a dangerous.
Well, look, it's caused massive problems for us now because we're back to the situation discussed a podcast or two ago about guests coming on this pod. Guests like Duncan Ferguson.
Yeah.
This was the spare chair.
We purchased this chair. This is the reason we've got a spare chair. Is because we couldn't put Duncan in the middle, of course. So now what are we going to do?
I ain't fucking moving.
There's
Duncan will be on-
there's a potential middle of the van situation here. Yeah, of course, the Vanarama game from previous weeks.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, weird start to the podcast today. Should we crack on in anger?
I think we should crack on. Okay, well, let's get into it, lads. We were just thinking about longevity in football. I felt like I had a bit of longevity, if I'm honest. Yeah,
definitely.
I played till I was 38. I could have potentially, I reckon, maybe stole another year or two, but I felt like I was doing other things and ready for a change. And I was lucky, is what I'm trying to say. Then obviously, I know that Sid, you had to kind of retire through injury. And, you know, I was definitely one of the lucky ones. I felt like I could have gone on. But you look at some of the players now. Modric, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi still playing.
Yeah. I mean, there's sort of longevity in playing football, and then I guess there's longevity in football per se, isn't there?
Yeah.
So there's obviously the playing side of it, but then I guess there is also those that say didn't even necessarily have the most sparkling of football careers, but have become legends in the game through either managing or punditry or commentary.
Yeah,
It's longevity management as well, you know. Like, look at, you know, how Alex Ferguson stayed at the one club for so long. I mean, it's and the transition of taking different teams and building different teams again, unbelievable. You know, and what he's achieved.
Yeah, just stay on you for 1 second. You 39 when you
38.
38.
Yeah.
When you started creeping up, like, because they say if you get past 35, it was old fashioned. If you get past 35, then you've done well. So obviously, when you crept past that, did you ever get to a point where you're going, I want to get to 40? I'd love to get to, or did you just think, or was that number never in your mind? It was just a case of, I'm just going to bow out when I bow out.
Yeah, you know what it was? Like, obviously, we got relegated at Stoke. And that, like I said, I've talked about this many a time before. You know, we had a bad dressing room. It wasn't great. I moved on to Burnley, and I remember kind of like looking at Chris Wood at the time, Ashley Barnes, certain playing ahead of me, and I thought, do you know what? It's kind of their time. I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, I don't feel as good as them now. You know what I mean? And that for me was hard to take.
Yeah.
So it was more of a kind of pride thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was more like, I think I could go on, but do you kind of tarnish yourself? You know, like, you know what I mean? I think I could have probably, fitness wise, I reckon I could have, but I wasn't the same player, and I think that it was more pride more than anything.
Yeah, because there's not many that can say that, is there? Really, they pulled the trigger by going, it didn't feel right. Like I felt great, but to imagine that, to still be able to go, I've still got a few years.
But Sid, that must have been so hard for you. Like, I remember we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Like, obviously that moment when it's called time on you rather than you calling time on.
Yeah.
On the game.
And again, I think that's what we'll come on to this, I'm sure, with all different players. And I think longevity, like you look at it and you think, well, I did have longevity because I started young.
Yeah. I mean, you weren't young, were you?
No,
when
I
you
retired
retired
at 36.
Yeah.
So, which is still great. But I think with longevity, there's so many key factors that come into it, isn't there? There's luck, there's injuries, there's health, there's how your lifestyle.
There's performance as well. Is a major bit of it. I mean, there's no point being long in the game and shit.
Well, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I did okay.
The thing is, you're right, actually, because there'll actually be a few that will go, I'm going to string it out and just, even though I'm shit, I'm just going to keep, if I can keep getting a wage from doing it. Because once it's gone, it's gone.
I think plenty of people have talked about that. You know, I remember Rio's obviously time at QPR it would not be the player he was at Manchester United. You know, I think Gary Neville's talked about it. You know, when you know, when you're getting turned inside out, and you know, I remember outpacing Rio at QPR. And
I remember that game.
I think that might have been the moment he realised.
Yeah.
So do you think there is a specific turning point? Is almost
getting outpaced by Peter Crouch if you're Rio Ferdinand. Definite time to go.
Wow. So do you reckon you've retired a few players?
I reckon there's a couple up there. I reckon they would, if I outpace you, you know it's time.
You're like the Grim Reaper of football.
Running past him, it's time, son. No, listen, you know, I think everyone's been great players, but there always comes a time, and I think, you know, you know when you know, I think. And I think, you know, I certainly had that moment where I thought a couple of times where I was a little bit off the pace, and I thought, and I was lucky that I was going into other things. We had this pod going, and, you know, we had the book out, and things were going really well off the field. I'd done our coaching pages. Me and Sid did them together. And I had things going on, and I felt, you know what, this is probably the right time to transition. But
do you think longevity in football is, I mean, obviously it sounds like a positive on paper, but do you think it's enough for some people to just finish as a player, and actually the idea of longevity isn't necessarily a good thing? It's like, do something, do it really well, do it to the best, have that, box it off, and then start something new.
100%. I think you can see at clubs like club legends, and they're kind of there still on their name, and the fans don't want to kind of get aggressive with them because they've been such a legend and they've outstayed it. And I think that can be a difficult time because you don't want to give it up. You love it so much.
Yeah.
And also you'll get games because you're such a club legend. But yeah, I think you need to know when it's time because it's hard for everyone to watch, I think. A top player becomes something they're not.
But I also think as well, the modern times football, the new managers and coaches that come in, I think they're more ruthless. I think back there was a bit more of a sentiment to trying to keep an old guard on. Whereas I think now they're little bit more like they take it on board for a little bit and then they're ready to go. Listen, they had the discussions with upstairs to go, look, if we want to progress and evolve as a club, then you know, X, Y, and Z have got to go. Or
but you know, there's also managers. You need a good manager, I think, at that time. I think quite often, certain managers will understand your training is not going to be the same as the training of a 21-year-old. You know, if you're 35, 36. I remember speaking to a few players, obviously, at Bournemouth, with I think it was Steele Van Distan, Jermaine Defoe. They really struggle because Eddie Howe demands so much from his players, and he wants everyone to train on the exact same intensity. Which we totally get, and obviously that's why he's been a successful manager. But for Sylvan and Jermaine Defoe, obviously being a little bit older, they found that really difficult and then they weren't at their best on the weekend.
Yeah, but then you let that go a little bit, I imagine, because I suppose another word for longevity. Or a similar word is experience. And then with those experienced heads, you have a different dynamic in that dressing room. And maybe it is in the interest to keep on players, legends, that maybe clearly know themselves, aren't maybe keeping pace or playing as well, but are unbelievable in the dressing room.
Yeah. And I mean, Craig Bellamy said this, didn't he? I think it was a really important one about where he had to taper his training regime. And he couldn't get to terms with it at the start because, and again, it had been like me. I would have wanted to have trained Monday to Friday and done everything with the group and not been at the special treatment to go, right, you've done enough now. Like you've hit your zone 2 or zone 3 and 4s, whatever. Because I'd have felt like psychologically I'm missing out on training, whereas really the rest is key and good. And I remember Craig Bellamy said he had one of his best seasons. It might have been at Man City or... No, it would have been after Liverpool. Anyway, he had one of his best seasons because his training regime was tapered compared to the rest. So there's a sort of a two-way street with it. And now, as well, definitely in the modern game, with all these vests that they wear, even for training, it's done live. So you've got someone literally watching all the data on the side of the pitch going, that player telling the manager that player's in the red zone too much. And then they get dragged out. Like during the session. Imagine that being tapped on the shoulder saying you've done enough. You'd be like, no, I haven't.
What do you mean by red zone? So as in you're in your own personal danger zone. Yeah. So that's where it could be embarrassing, is if the perception is people look at you and go, they've done the same as me, but they need to come out now because they're reaching their limits. They're in the red. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and and it's all about then you go into a fatigue, and then it's all about building up to the Saturday, isn't it? To the game.
That's a really tricky one. Because also, you're so right. If you're trying to keep up with other players or show what you can do, but you've got some nerd on a laptop telling you can't.
Briefcase wanker.
I can't see certain players taking to that too well.
I think or even believing it. I remember like a couple of times, like we used to do the jump test before training. Do you remember that? Yes. And it was like whether you were fatigued or not. And they were like, no, you need to step out, like go in the pool. And like, that's what?
Yeah,
I want to train.
You have to do a urine test, didn't you, to see how
hydration
you was.
Test. So you come in straight away, you do a urine test the minute you arrive.
But that feels like a mind first body. I don't want to quote this song because obviously it's cancelled. But if your mind's telling you no, but your body's telling you yes, it seems to be the reverse of that. Your mind's telling you yes, but your body's telling you no.
I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind.
Well. I think there's a few things wrong with it now. But my point is, it's not even your body telling you anything. It's someone else saying that your body's saying that. Yeah. It's an interpreter on the side.
Yeah.
But I would think your mind.
Tell me no.
Stop
He can't get away with it now, can he? He's done.
Stop it. If you're telling yourself that you're okay,
Yeah. But
our Will from the In-Betweeners is on the side.
Yeah. And I agreed.
Like,
Yeah.
Who's in the right?
I don't know.
Who's in the right to Eddie Howe, do you reckon?
Right, for me, right, and this is very, very like dinosaur. You know, the game's evolved from this, and I am obviously I've outstayed my welcome. But I knew my own body, and I genuinely I had sports scientists, I had dietitians, nutritionists, personal trainers telling me all this information. I say, right, I will take all this information on board, but no one knows my body better than me.
Yeah.
And I think I was in the gym, and I remember being cornered before Liverpool. I'd always try and get bigger because I need to be bigger because I'm not like, I haven't got enough power, I'm not strong enough. That was always things labelled against me all the time. So I'm doing weights consistently. I'm on creatine. I'm on protein shakes. I'm trying to build myself up. I reckon from 14 to 23, I was trying to do that. And unfortunately, this is my body shape, right? And I think, I can be stronger. I can be, I can put more weight on. I can eat more. Definitely, I can be more healthy. But I found myself getting injuries, little wears and tears. Like if I'm playing a game and then I'm trying to be in the gym and still doing squats, doing various bits and pieces to try and get stronger, I found myself not getting out on the training field. And then for me, not being out on the training field would mean not being as good in matches. So I had to kind of taper my own personal things. Like everyone's doing this, lots of weights in the gym. Believe it or not, I didn't go in the gym because it just didn't suit me. It wasn't good for me, and I'm never going to lift what Sol Campbell can lift, and I just wasn't. That wasn't suited to my game. And once I realised that this is my body shape, and I don't think I didn't miss many training sessions. I mean, Sid, you can vouch for me on this, let alone games. And I'm thinking to myself, if I don't do, I do bits in the gym, kind of prehab, bits and pieces to stay on top of things. But for me, I was getting more out of being out on the training pitch, training every single day and playing every single match. And I think that was the key to my longevity, was saying actually no to certain people who were telling me to do this stuff for the benefit of me. I was saying, no, this is, I know now how to manage myself.
Yeah, that's the key. Everyone's different. Everyone, like, you can't put everyone in the same sort of bracket. Like, not everyone needs to or wants to do weights. Like, I can imagine Giggsy towards the back end of his career. Like, he was big advocate on yoga and Pilates, and Arsene Wenger brought that in at Arsenal as well.
What do you think of that, Sid?
I think it's key. And again, it's
Yoga.
the norm. Yoga and Pilates, is the norm now, and it's all in-house. Most clubs have got. I was doing
done it.
Have you not?
It is good, you know.
Have you not done it?
The stretching.
No, you'd love it.
It is good.
Yeah, you'd like it.
Are we all thinking the same thing?
Downward dog.
Yeah, downward dog. Like it's kind of meditation, sort of.
Yeah,
It's not
just
though.
on-
It's harder than that.
Yeah.
Like some of the Pilates, like I do it sometimes with Ab now, the old reformer Pilates.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's hard. It's harder than it looks.
Give it a go. Let's
Reform Pilates.
Yeah, the reformer machine. Have
Reformers
you seen them?
on the thing. We've got all the. How would you describe it? It's like a board with
that you can move the
various
strings.
stringy bits.
We should have a crouch day out or crouch pod day out.
We should do a day out at the Reformer Pilates.
So what songs are playing when that's on?
I don't see nothing wrong.
Oh God. Okay. Well, so I just can't imagine. So Pilates has come into football at some point. I can't imagine. Like,
Haaland's doing the yoga
Tony Adams.
celebration, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They're all doing it.
You've got to look at football. Let's talk about the dinosaurs, because we are. I think we're from a certain age, aren't we? So we come through where it was train Monday, Tuesday, off on a Wednesday, train Thursday, Friday, play Saturday, off Sunday. That was your standard one. Training was hard. Drinking culture was very much prominent. And like I said there, if you got to 35, it was seen as you've had a great career. Yeah. Whereas now, I think the modern day player now, they can get to at least late 30s, into their 40s, And then it's come down to, do they really have got the love and desire to stay in football? I think the modern day player now would probably come out by going, I've done my bit.
So you weren't doing yoga when you were playing?
No,
were you?
I didn't love yoga. Like, I'm not.
You did a bit with Graham Souness.
Yeah. No, listen,
But that was
I
just
wasn't
on
against
holiday.
it. I did it. Yeah, I was on holiday. Yeah, I just did all the classes, and this particular day it was yoga.
Didn't you? What was the story there again? Didn't you creep your head around the corner and you saw the back end of Graham Souness?
No, yeah,
downward dog?
no, because his missus was in there. We're doing the
was
class with us, and obviously she was there. And then he had his weights gloves on, and he opened the door and he went to say something to his missus, and he saw me. It was all women in this yoga class. And he just said something to his missus, and he had the Gold's Gym like gloves on and a vest, and he was pumping iron in the other room. And he just came in and he went, "Oh my God, what are you doing in it?" Laughed at me. I was in the downward dog. It doesn't matter. Yoga's for all.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I've never explored it.
The majority of footballers, I would say 90% are doing yoga and Pilates.
They brought them in
weekly.
towards the end of my career. I remember at Liverpool they were bringing yoga teachers in to do
I know
classes.
players that are having it at their house. They've got like a Pilates studio or the Reformer in their house, and they're having instructors come to the house and doing it.
A lot of the
twice
lads
a week.
now they've got the training regime, but they've got personal trainers with them. Over the summer and stuff like that, they'll be working on things throughout the summer. And
So are players playing football longer now? I imagine this is the thing with the health.
I don't know this, but I mean, listen, Maldini retired at 41, didn't he? You got Ryan Giggs retired 40. James Milner still going, been the absolute animal.
Yeah.
Ibrahimovic, Ronaldo, Messi, all players going well into their late 30s and 40s.
So you see a lot of those names, right? And especially the ones that are still playing. Do you think you reach a point though where obviously you have to time retiring right, but do you think there's ever a case that you can be real legendary players but run the risk of now going on too long and chipping away at that kind of status?
Yeah.
Is there something to be said if you really are one of the world's greatest? A bit like with musicians, some of the most legendary musicians sadly died quite young, but then it probably stopped a load of music that might not have been as strong as when they were in their prime and chipping away at their reputation.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get that as much now because, like we've probably said before on previous pods, loyalty in football isn't really there. So I think clubs are ruthless now to go, you've got 2 years left, you're 34, we're going to look if we can offload you, or they talk to their agent to say, look, he's not going to be playing. So if he wants to go and find somewhere else to go and play out the rest of his career, and then it's down to them whether they want to drop from, if they can get another club in the Premier League, great, or not, are they going to be prepared to drop down to the Championship, League One, League Two? I think clubs now are way more ruthless.
Well, how does Ronaldo need to finish? One of, if not the greatest players of all time.
Well, he's banging goals in Saudi Arabia, isn't he? But I think that it's nice to be able to go to a place like that. I think if he's still at Real Madrid, then people would be asking questions like they do when he plays for Portugal.
Yeah.
They're like,
and when he went back to United as well, by the way.
Yeah.
When he went back to United,
how many times are people saying, is the team suffering because of how he plays? All that scrutiny. I think he's made a good move. He's getting paid very well. He's probably in a nice climate, and he's out of the way of the kind of scrutiny.
Yeah, he's a different ball game, is he? Because he wants to leave a legacy. He literally wants to be the greatest player that has ever lived. If you talk about the perfect way for him to bow out, I don't know. Would he want to go back to Portugal, maybe back to one of his home clubs there, or go to the States, or finish in Saudi? I don't know. I mean,
that would be awesome. That would be phenomenal if you could be Ronaldo and finish almost with the first club you started.
Yeah, that'd be a dream.
Like that sort of full circle thing that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But equally, he carries on playing. He carries on, being a footballer.
But
does it at all dilute how he is regarded in football, or will be regarded in football? I don't think so, because as you say, I think it's a different stratosphere of footballer, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a freak. I mean, you look at the way that the lengths that he's gone for that longevity in terms of people have seen him on holiday and they're in the pool with their kids having a beer, and he's obviously going to the gym 2-3 times a week. I'm sure when he comes home from training, he's probably having the 5-berry shake made up of nutrition and some prunes and dates, whereas I'm getting in after training, I'm having a cup of tea and dispatching half a pack of chocolate digestive biscuits. So that's like, they're the levels.
Yeah. But also now, like, obviously players are incredibly well paid right now. A lot of this stuff's in the house now, like cryotherapy chambers, you know, hot and cold baths, you know, pool, you know, the red light beds, the oxygen chambers.
Yeah.
You know, that a lot of these are in their houses. You know, they've been in the training ground for a long time, and the training grounds are so good as well. Obviously, you've got everything there, but then you go home and you've still got that stuff. Everything's about recovery and performance, and you're always going to be at optimal level, and I think you have to be, because the amount of games that we're kind of thrusting upon these players now, they have to take care of themselves. They can't not be in peak physical condition. I've got a couple of these. The oxygen is the hyperbaric chamber.
Yes.
Which is obviously, you go in, you zip it up. I'm a little bit claustrophobic, so it's hard for me to get into
I've seen that at your house. You've shown me that one.
Once you get into it, it's amazing. And obviously you feel a million times better.
It's like a little go-kart or something, or like a tent.
Yeah, a little tent.
Almost.
And it blows up while you're in there.
Yeah.
And it's just pure oxygen.
So how often do you go? So do you go in there once a day?
No. I actually find it difficult to go in there, but I try and go in there maybe twice a week. But Ab does it more than me. But we've also got the red light therapy bed, which is amazing. Honestly, it really is. It looks a bit like a sunbed. So when I go under there, people think I'm like, you know, when Del Boy turns it up on Rodney after. But it's nothing to do with the tan. It's nothing to do with the tan. Let me tell you some of the health benefits from it, right? Boosts collagen for younger, smoother look, obviously. You know, I'm 65 now. Soothes inflammation and chronic aches. Heals muscles faster after exercise or injury. Enhances rest and focus for a sharper you. Red light therapy is a game changer. Jennifer Aniston said so, apparently. Yeah, that's it. Optimal. It looks a bit like that. It's like an optimal.
It looks like a sunbed, literally, but it's...
Yeah, it looks like a sunbed, but it's like
a healthy sunbed.
Rejuvenation of the cells is the...
Well, we've sort of strayed into longevity in life now, haven't we?
Well, it's just
football. But we are a football podcast, and ultimately, to keep on going, we need to be alive.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's interesting knowing what you're doing to stay alive.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to stay alive, yeah, as much as you, I'm sure. But
you talk about that hyperbaric chamber, right? I remember signing for Fulham 2010, 2011, and they were one of the first clubs to have it, right? And it was a proper... Imagine like a little mini submarine, you know, like a proper capsule with the, you know, like the circle lock that open. You'd have to wind it down, like lift the door open, you climb in, and there was a pillow and a little blanket that you could lay down. You could take an iPad or whatever it was in there and watch stuff. But the fella that closed the there'd have to be an alarm because he's the only one watching you. You can imagine if something happens to him.
No, that's my worst
It was
nightmare.
horrible getting in there.
Yeah.
So there was an alarm going off to make sure that he'd keep touching it, and if he didn't, it would send an alarm to obviously the medical department to then come in case, because obviously your trust is in his hands.
I know.
No,
I mean, you wouldn't want to piss him off, would you?
No.
No. But that was scary. But that was...
But
I know what you mean about it being claustrophobic.
It's quite claustrophobic, but once you get over that, the health benefits for me are fantastic.
Yeah.
I do think, and I think a lot of the players would have these now.
Not too long ago, I was in West Quay Shopping Centre, and I tried in Southampton, and I found it was like I was bored, and it had a machine that does your like BMI, so you hold on to two silver bits.
I remember them.
Yeah,
You should
And
see
it
them in
passes
like
a
leisure
current.
centres.
yeah.
Yeah, and it said I had the metabolic age of, I swear it was like 53, 54.
Oh.
Something like that. So on the outside, I've got the gift of youth and beauty. Sorry. But inside, I'm an elderly man.
Yeah, shit.
Fucking
What
crazy,
would
that, isn't it?
actually you prefer there, though? Genuinely. Would you rather
Really
look
good
old
point.
and
Great.
be young inside, or would you rather be... Do you know what I mean? Like, outwardly, you look all right, but...
I think you'd have to go on appearance, wouldn't you?
But your insides are...
Dead.
No, I just mean your lungs are gone, sort of. It's a question we've all got to ask ourselves, really. Because I can tell you two are desperately clinging on to youth.
Just because you're dead from the inside, don't start on me.
And what makes you say that?
I can just tell you're sort of the way you look after yourselves. And
I think the moment you stop being trying to be young, you might as well give up. You know what I mean?
I think you're right, and that's why I think I go the opposite to you. I think as long as you stay youthful in your brain and the insides, that's because you want to have fun. You got to
If
enjoy.
you're young at heart, then you're young for life.
I think with the appearance and stuff like that, obviously do what you want to do. But I think it's liberating to just sort of let it go a bit.
Or just grow old gracefully.
Just do,
You just don't bother keeping young.
Yeah, and just hope you're blessed looking good older. It'll be interesting to see how we all sort of shake out in sort of 10, 20 years' time.
Wonder if we'll still be in the Chumbawamba.
I think we will.
What I mean?
I weirdly do. We'll still be here. I don't know if anyone listening.
Anyone else out there will be listening.
But by then we'll be in a new thing. It'll be the Chumbawamba home. And we'll be.
I'd like Baby Divock to carry on this legacy. Do you know what I mean? Like,
hand
you
it to the
reckon?
kids. That could be fun
Yeah.
at some point.
The young Sidwell and the young Chris
we
Bango Stark.
We talked about doing a wives special one day where it's a whole episode, but just with the three respective wives. Like on Loose Women where they switch it up to Loose Men.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would
yeah,
be interesting.
We do it like that, but then
Yeah.
we could also do a kids one as an offshoot. To be fair, I mean, just from a business point of view, it would be good to start thinking about who's coming through.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just to keep this going into a new generation.
But you know what? We've shown longevity in this podcast. You know what I
true.
mean, man?
Well, we're football heritage.
We are football heritage. We
Love
mentioned
that.
that on the last pod. But I put ours alongside kind of Barcelona, Real Madrid, Liverpool, AC Milan in that podcast football heritage.
Well,
There's a rich history.
And we should say as well, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, like we respect your longevity as well. We often talk about footballers in this instance, but we're not necessarily talking about fans, long-serving fans of a club. Longevity from a fan's point of view here.
Through thick and
Longevity
thin.
from people who've been listening to this nonsense now for, I don't even know how many years we've been going.
No. Well, regards to their families, though, anyway.
Absolutely.
I've got a stat for you here, lads, right? What about this one? Vinicius has already played 18,876 minutes for Real Madrid and Brazil. He's 22 years old. That's more than double Ronaldinho's minutes at the same age. Pedri made a whopping 73 appearances for club and country during the 2021 season and has played 12,000 minutes, which is 20% more than Xavi did at the same age. Kylian Mbappe has played nearly 50% more minutes than Thierry Henry did at 24, and the same goes for Jude Bellingham when compared to Wayne Rooney. Like
that is a cause
you
for
can't.
concern.
It literally cannot.
Yeah.
Is it though?
What these players?
Well,
playing that many
yeah,
games?
because don't we? Henry, Ronaldinho, Rooney, Xavi, they've played. We want to see them at their optimum level, right? Are we going to see in 10 years' time Vinicius, Mbappe, Bellingham, Pedri at the same level? Do you know what I mean? If they're playing that many minutes.
Okay, so I guess from a burnout point of view, you're right. But then, is there an argument here that because they're playing more games, they're going to be even greater players?
Well, because statistically, goals.
I just
assists.
mean experience-wise. Like, if you talk about, is it the 10,000 hours or whatever it is to get really good at your trade, whatever you're doing, right? You can become a world expert in it. It's something like, I'm not the most facial
10,000
speaker,
hours,
10,000 hours, something like that. Well, is there something to be said then that you've already got these quality players that are then forced to play football a lot at a very high level, and that makes them even
No, because I
greater
think you'd be training, wouldn't you? They'd be training, working on things during the week. And the fact that you play matches, the wear and tear of a match compared to training.
Well, the wear and tear is probably, you're right, a concern from a longevity point of view, potentially. Unless it somehow makes you stronger.
Yeah,
I don't know.
do you
I get
think
what you're
so?
saying? No, I get what you're saying. I just remember looking back at United when they just dominated. Do you remember they just literally dominated and they won however many Premier Leagues in a row? And I found as well, when you are in a competitive side and you have to start playing 30, 40, 50, 60 games a year, your body just does become accustomed to it.
Yeah.
People just go, I can't believe they're playing like Sunday, then they got Champions League on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then they play Saturday, and it's like they're just consistently repeating levels, and you like the top players just find a groove, and they just find it a momentum that just carries the cycle going. I think sometimes when you come out of that, because your body's so used to that momentum, you sometimes get a few little niggles and stuff when you come out of it. If that makes sense. It's really weird.
Yeah. Sorry, Sid. You were talking really well, eloquently, and really and I just had an ice cream van outside.
And Ross has just dashed to go and get one. Has just gone out.
Also, do you know what's great? First ice cream van of the year, I think, isn't it?
Ice cream van.
I'm just really excited about summer and little things like that.
It's
How nice
exciting.
is it today? Last week we walked here in the
It's nice.
pissing rain, and today it's
look at it.
sunshine.
Gorgeous out there. One other thing on that, Sid. What most telling thing for me was when Rodri came out and said about how dangerous it was playing so many games, and then did his knee right. Like that for me was so telling. It was like he was screaming out, going, we cannot do this anymore." And then he broke down and got injured, and it was like, "I told you so." And I feel like I do think we have a duty of care, and I know there's a huge outcry of but look how much they get paid, and you know it's not hard to play a game of football, but I just think there has to
there's
be
a limit. I mean,
it got to be a limit.
There obviously
there
is,
is.
but do you think is it a case of it's a bit like, you know, they say you've got a bucket and a half, haven't you? And you of what's that?
Of what? Jizz?
Of jizz. Are you saying it's the same with matches for players?
It's
actually. Do you know what I mean? So if you are going twice
Never
the
heard
rate,
that.
twice the rate
Is that, so I want to go back to the bucket.
yeah, I'm not sure how big the bucket is, but it's
Everyone's got a bucket and a half.
you get a bucket and a half, and then
Really?
you're done.
What in your lifetime?
It's just dust.
In your lifetime?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus!
Then
Yeah.
what? It's just.
I don't know.
It's not. Wowza.
Where do you reckon you're up to?
Well, you'd like to get to your maximum, wouldn't you? To be fair.
That's what I mean. Is Mbappe worried? Not about the
Yeah,
bucket
about that
thing. I
situation.
just mean about
So,
the amount of games.
so that then puts me on to someone like Harry Kane, right? So I know he had some injuries, didn't he, with his ankles and stuff. But if you actually look at him the last few years, it feels as though every season there's just been a little hangover from the amount of games that he's played. Telling sign was the last competition. Didn't seem like he was at his absolute best. And was that just, you know, wear and tear over the years, a hangover of the games that he's played? And then you got to start worrying for the likes of Jude Bellingham. But they're young at the moment. Yes, they can get through it all. But then in 5, 6, 7 years' time, are they going to be the same? Well, you're not going to see the best of them.
Listen, you know, that's obviously we can't see into the future, but I do think that it's worth a discussion, you know, and like the lots of, from the players' point of view, from the management's point of view, from the fitness, there's a lot of outcry of, you know, this could be a bit too much, but then the clubs don't help themselves by going on pre-season trips or, you know, to all around the country. You can't complain about it all year and then go on a mad tour of Asia and play a load of games and then go straight into the season. You know? So I think there's duty of care kind of all round, really.
I think you do want that longevity. You know, obviously not with every player. It's not possible with every player, but you do want to see it with some of these great players that will be the future superstars. And
Let's talk about longevity. Like, let's talk about Gareth Barry. Obviously, we know really well.
Yeah.
So, like GB, he was obviously midfield player, robust. Would get up at he was fit, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Right. Unbelievable career. I don't really remember him having many injuries.
No. Well, you can't.
But
if you've got 600 odd Premier League appearances.
But what I would say to that is, which contrasts it a little bit, is he was a bit of a boy, wasn't he? Like he'd go out on a weekend and he'd have a drink, not every weekend, but like it just goes to show that everyone is built different. Where you could have someone that would be ultra healthy, wouldn't drink, and then wouldn't get nowhere near them amount of games.
Do you think there's a slight correlation between players with longevity and pace? Like, so if you're Gareth Barry, if you're James Milner, myself, Teddy Sheringham, Modric, I just think if you rely heavily on pace, and that wanes in kind of 26, 27, right?
well, it's turtle and hair, isn't it, or whether it's tortoise and hair.
Yeah. I just think sometimes if your attributes, like I never relied on pace and I was able to go to 38, I think you know, Luka Modric, Teddy Sheringham, those types of players who never rely on you know, the physical attributes of the game,
Yeah.
rather than the mental. I think you've got more ability to go longer.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily position specific.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
attributes, isn't it?
Yeah, and also I think adapting. So, like Ryan Giggs, absolute speed demon, right? When he was
Yeah.
17, 18, unstoppable
Yeah.
pace. But the way he's been able to adapt into kind of like almost like a midfield role and dictate the play.
Yeah, 'cause
you know
you'd
what I
never
mean?
see him go around people, would you really?
He stopped
towards
doing
the
it.
end?
Remember how
Yeah.
much he was just
And Rooney
he changed.
to a
Rooney,
fact, probably as
even
well.
Messi. I mean, Messi could drop into that midfield and play till he's 55. He could though, couldn't he?
Do you reckon?
Like, I reckon
Yeah.
you get a ball off the front, just literally dictate play. Wouldn't have to move anywhere.
But you're saying that players that are sort of known for having that explosive pace
Well, if you've
and their game can't necessarily adapt without it,
Yeah.
obviously the longevity
It's not
question
gonna
is
last,
hard
are you?
because you can't.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before in the podcast. There's a shark sits in the water out there. Do you remember this?
yeah, I love this
Crouchy?
shark. This is Chris's famous shark
This
quote.
is this
Hit
is
me.
this
Hit
is
me.
mad, right? So
Okay.
there's a shark out there just in the water right now.
Right now,
Could be listening to us, like whatever. Just going about his business.
Yep.
300 years old, this thing. Now, every now and then, it is
300 years old. It's out there.
300 years old. Its heart beats like once every 2 weeks. And what it will
Unbelievable.
do is like every 50 years, 100 years, whatever it is, it pops itself up, has a little look around, gets a bit of air, thinks, fuck this, back down again, goes about its business. But you think how much the world changes above it, and this shark just goes about it. That's longevity.
What a story that is.
All right, regards to your family, Cameron. Right, let's get some messages done.
Yes.
Hi, Pete, Sid and Chris. I was listening to the episode about work names not so long ago. I thought I'd mention our work game we play. I'm an Englishman who lives and works in Perth, Australia, and 2 colleagues on my team are English and Irish. We decided to create Shite Club. Of course, the first rule of Shite Club is to not talk about Shite Club. However, I feel it's time to break that rule. Essentially, when one of us needs a shite, we will leave our office and we will walk into random offices around the city, take a gamble in the lift on certain floors, and try and find a completely random toilet in an office. More than likely, this is illegal, but yet to be caught. We will then rate and review each toilet and write about our Shite Club experience. I've attached 2 pages of our live Excel sheet, which accumulates of Shite Club, which is different floors in our building, and Shite Club A, which is different buildings altogether. Hoping to bring more of a light to Shite Club, as it's a wonderful game. Regards to your families.
It's on the 4th floor. It says the address of the building, positives. Look at this. Positives and negatives.
He says, I don't know where to start. The hairs on my arms are on end. My body's tingling. What an experience and journey that was. Made the bold call to get back into 108. The lobby is like a cathedral. Airy, classy, exposed brick walls with posh people sipping coffee. I picked a number of the board and headed to one of the many lifts. I tried 10 floor combinations, no luck. Nearly bottled it. Started heading out, then headed up to the floor 19 lobby. No toilets. Came back down on the way out, found another touch screen, gave it one last blast, and bang, lift K arrives. Head up the lift into a large shared lobby full of boardrooms and sofas. Took a stroll around to one side. It was the women's. I wandered back around and found the men's. Then walked into a world of pure imagination. Charlie and the Arse Chocolate Factory, and I had the golden ticket. 180 panoramic views of Perth, blue sky everywhere you look, hotel-style hovering mirrors, whose whole bathroom bathed in warm sunlight. Magic. Pure magic.
And there's a negatives column.
Okay. Negatives. Only thing I can really fault is the cubicle itself. It was fairly unimaginative, but we're picking at straws here. Oh my God. Well, what a game that is.
Shite.
Joe, what a game.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a game that I'd play, but I think we've all dived into various outlets and had to go.
So it's definitely illegal, but it's.
What I need to say there though is also that how boring is their job that they have to create a spreadsheet about literally the highlight of their day is going for shit
in somewhere
else.
Okay,
I'd like to finish on this, lads. It's a message from Liam. He said, firstly, regards to your families. Hope you're all well. Bonfire, BBQ King. Can't beat a barbecue. He's a huge barbecuer.
Wow.
And Mr. Sexy himself.
Whoa.
I assume that's me.
Well, yeah, I mean, but for now. keep up with all that. What was it?
That red
light and the cryotherapy. Hyperbaric. My name's Liam and I'm a massive fan of the pod. I was wondering if there's any chance of a little favour from you guys. My son Aaron is a massive Aaron Ramsdale fan and has taken up being a goalkeeper because of his days at Arsenal with us, being Arsenal fans. His 7th birthday is coming up, April the 4th, and was wondering if there's any chance of a message or something signed to send gloves or a shirt to sign. I have tried contacting him, but no luck. We're going to book tickets to go and watch the Southampton game so we can watch his hero live. Okay, well, thanks for that, Liam. That's a lovely message. Why don't we read that to Aaron Ramsdale and see what he says?
Good idea.
That is
Very
great.
good idea.
I'm going to send him a little voice note.
It's nice to check in with him as well.
Yeah, it's nice to say
In
how he's
regards to
doing.
his family.
Yeah. Regards to Aaron Ramsdale's family as well. Aaron, Ella, mate, hope you're good. I'm just doing a podcast with Chris and Sid here. Regards to
your family,
Aaron. Yeah.
Regards to your families. I just want to read you this, mate. My son Aaron is a massive Aaron Ramsdale fan and has taken up being a goalkeeper because of his days at Arsenal. His 7th birthday is coming up on April the 4th, and I was wondering if there's any chance of a message or something signed to send shirts or gloves to sign. I have tried contacting him, but to no luck. We're going to book tickets to watch the Southampton game so he can watch his hero live. That's from Liam. I said I'd pass it on, Aaron. Ball's in your court. Regards to your families.
That's how to do it. Wow.
The ball's in your court.
I was half expecting, would you mind?
Yeah.
Or is there anything we can send over?
Just put it straight on him.
Just like, your issue now. Don't want to disappoint a kid.
I think
he won't disappoint.
Knowing Aaron Ramsdale as we do,
Yeah.
I don't think he'll disappoint. And I think if if Liam even lets us know what game he'll go to, I reckon, knowing Aaron as we do, I think he'll make that one of the best days of his life.
Aaron is one
Absolutely
of the soundest guys in football.
Totally
Love him.
agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, regards to Aaron's families, regards to Liam's families, and regards to yours.
And
lads,
yours.
and regards to everyone listening.
Yeah, a bit of furniture rebuilding we've got to do.
A
All the
new
guys
chair.
there.
I don't know if I've put on weight or what, but
And the cursed gnome will throw it away, will we?
listen,
Sadly.
thanks so much for the present. I really appreciate it. You did bring us some bad luck.